This video is for educational and documentary purposes. It does not glorify crime, and all content is based on factual research and expert analysis. Welcome to our deep dive into the most shocking serial killer confessions ever recorded. Some of the most notorious criminals in history believed they would never be caught, but their own words became the key to their downfall. In this episode, we will examine why these individuals finally admitted to their crimes and what their confessions revealed about their minds. If you're fascinated by true crime and investigative psychology, subscribe now and turn on notifications. We release new investigative videos every week, and next Saturday we will uncover the chilling cases of individuals who refused to confess, even when overwhelming evidence was against them. Now, let's examine some of the most infamous cases where confessions changed everything. Ted Bundy is one of the most well-known serial offenders in history, remembered for his ability to deceive those around him. Born in 1946, Bundy led what seemed like a respectable life, studying law, working in politics, and even volunteering at a crisis hotline. However, investigators would later uncover a disturbing double life. In the 1970s, he was responsible for a series of attacks across multiple states. His pattern involved pretending to need help, often wearing a sling or walking with crutches to gain sympathy. Once he gained his victims' trust, he would take advantage of their kindness. For years, Bundy denied everything. He represented himself in court, using his charm to manipulate public perception. His trials became highly publicized, and he appeared to relish the attention. But by 1989, he had exhausted all legal appeals. On January 23rd, just before his scheduled sentence was carried out, Bundy confessed to more than 30 cases. Investigators suspect the real number may have been higher, but he withheld key details. Psychologists believe his confession was less about remorse and more about retaining control over the situation. He hinted that he knew more, possibly hoping that revealing additional details would prolong his legal process. Ultimately, Bundy's confession came too late, and the full extent of his actions remains unknown. His final words to investigators offer a glimpse into the mind of someone who believed he could outmaneuver the justice system until the very end. Dennis Rader, known as the BTK offender, an acronym for how he described his crimes, spent decades hiding in plain sight. Between the mid-1970s and early 1990s, he carried out his plans while living a seemingly normal life in Wichita, Kansas. He worked an office job, attended church, and was even a respected member of his community. But behind the scenes, he engaged in a pattern of disturbing behavior that investigators would spend years trying to connect. Rader's downfall began in the early 2000s when he re-emerged after years of silence. He sent a floppy disk to a local news station, believing it could not be traced. But digital forensics revealed hidden data that pointed investigators directly to him. He was arrested in 2005, and rather than deny his actions, he confessed immediately. During questioning, Rader described his activities in a matter-of-fact tone, providing details as though recounting a routine event. Investigators noted that he showed no remorse, but seemed to take pride in how long he had avoided capture. Some experts believe he confessed not out of guilt, but because he wanted recognition. His case serves as an example of how some individuals confess not to relieve their conscience, but to gain attention and reinforce their own self-importance. Unlike Bundy and Rader, Jeffrey Dahmer's confession took a different tone. Growing up in the Midwest, Dahmer was described as quiet and unassuming, but those close to him noticed concerning behavior from an early age. Over the years, his urges grew stronger, leading to a pattern of disturbing crimes in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, from the late 1970s through the early 1990s. Authorities discovered his actions in 1991 after one of his intended victims managed to escape and led police to Dahmer's residence. The evidence was overwhelming, and unlike many others in his position, Dahmer did not try to deny his involvement. He provided full details to law enforcement, explaining how his actions had escalated over time. Some investigators believed Dahmer's confession came from a sense of relief, an acceptance that he had lost control over his own compulsions. While he acknowledged the harm he had caused, psychologists continue to debate whether he truly felt remorse. His willingness to cooperate helped authorities solve multiple missing persons cases and provided families with long-awaited answers. Dahmer's case stands out because his confession was not about seeking attention or power, it was almost a surrender. He seemed to understand that his actions had led to his inevitable capture, making his confession one of the most straightforward in criminal history. Israel Keyes is perhaps one of the most perplexing cases in modern criminal history. Arrested in Anchorage, Alaska in 2012 for the disappearance of an 18-year-old woman, Keyes initially seemed like an isolated case. But as interrogators pressed him for details, he began hinting at a much darker truth. Keyes admitted to carefully planning his crimes in advance, burying supply kits in multiple states years before selecting a target. He traveled extensively, choosing locations specifically to avoid patterns. This made it nearly impossible for law enforcement to connect him to unsolved cases. Unlike Bundy or Rader, Keyes did not give a full confession. Instead, he revealed only fragments, leading investigators to believe there were many more cases they might never solve. Before they could extract more information, Keyes took his own life in custody, leaving behind cryptic writings but no clear answers. His confession remains one of the most frustrating in criminal history, as law enforcement continues to search for the truth he took with him. So why do some offenders confess, while others remain silent? Some, like Bundy, confess in an attempt to manipulate the legal system. Others, like Rader, do so to seek attention or admiration. In Dahmer's case, it appeared to be a matter of resignation, an admission that he knew his actions could not continue. Keyes, on the other hand, used his confession as a tool, revealing just enough to maintain control over the narrative while still keeping investigators in the dark. Confessions play a crucial role in solving cases, providing evidence and offering closure to victims' families. However, they are not always motivated by guilt. Many criminals confess on their own terms, shaping their legacy even in their final moments. Which of these confessions do you find the most disturbing or revealing? Share your thoughts in the comments and make sure to subscribe for more investigative true crime stories. Next Saturday, we will explore the chilling cases of killers who never admitted guilt, even when the proof was undeniable. You won't want to miss it. And as Mats Fredriksson says, no matter how many secrets one holds, the truth eventually finds its way to light.